Hey guys, we want to stop a minute and talk about a bead roller. Now you'll run into some that have different options, kind of like different size throats, variable speed motors, and heck, some of them don't even have a motor, they got a crank on them, but they all pretty much do the same thing. The way these things work is you simply take a piece of metal, slide it in between the dies. The next thing you would do is crank down on the handle, which squeezes the rod together and puts pressure on the metal. Depending on your dies, determines what the shape it's going to make. Now this particular die is a 5/16 round bead, and it's pretty much the shape that everyone thinks of whenever it comes to rolling beads. They have them in a whole bunch of different various sizes, kind of like this big 5/8, and depending on what you're trying to do, well, it's going to dictate which one you need. Now the next thing we're going to talk about is what's called a transition die. Now as you roll the metal through it, you'll notice that it'll give you a nice smooth edge. And then you'd have what's called a step die. And whenever you run it in through it, if you notice, it kind of looks like a stair-step. Now we just showed you 3 or 4 different dies, but they make tons of different ones, and oftentimes you can kind of mix and match them all up and it'll give you different effects. But enough's enough for now. Let's go ahead and run a piece of metal through and talk a little more about how this machine works. Now ours has a crank here that lowers and raises the 2 shafts together, and what that gives you the option to do is increase or decrease the amount of pressure you're applying to the metal. Having this adjustability also allows you to kind of start anywhere in the middle of that panel. If you didn't have it, well, with them all the way together, you can only start at one end and then go to the other edge. To get started, we're going to do a bead from one end to the other, and we're going to have to back this up just a bit because where it was at was too much pressure, and that can give you some problems later. Now to set your pressure, you want to back this thing off until the metal will just go through. Give it a couple of turns, and now you're ready to get started. You can give it another full turn and run it through again. Just for grins, we're going to give it another half a turn and run it through one more time. Now that turned out pretty nice, and this is one of the most popular and simple things you can do with a machine like this, and there's a whole lot more to show you, but that's going to have to be next time.